Alright, so coming out to post another update here. As you can see, the bumper's still off. We've gotten the radiator out. We've gotten actually, basically all of the AC components are out now. Because I really won't be using it. I never really have used them in any of the cars I've previously owned, so there's really no point for me to have it in here either. Especially, I'd have to convert it since it's still the old R12 system, so I just figured I'd just take it out instead. Let me go pick this up. This just fell. Sitting here back flushing my radiator, as well as, just cleaning out the wiper reservoir. Trying to, anyway. Same with the coolant reservoir that's been cleaned out. I've gone on, taken all this out, given it a coat of paint. As far as my thermostat goes, it worked when I did a test, but I don't really want to put this back in my car. It's quite dirty, and it did sit in a combination of water and purple power for like overnight, and this is still as good as it came out. So, not too happy with it, and would much rather just go ahead and get a new one. And water suction pipe, probably gonna have to go to the junkyard, try to find one of these, because there was a lot of metal flakes in here. I have gotten them out, I've flushed them out, but that could be why the car was overheating. They could have been blocking the thermostat. I'm not too sure. Same with the water, or the thermostat housing. I'm gonna go ahead and replace that because that's pretty nasty. As you can see, I got my bumper back here, along with the bolts, my radiator hoses, the bumper connector, just my airbox and shit. It's up on jacks because I was gonna flush the block out, but I am having an issue. First off, I had an issue finding them, and I had an issue getting my power steering belt off to get my AC belt off. This pulley thing here, you got your one you're supposed to loosen, then you got your tensioner that you're supposed to loosen, and then according to everyone, they're supposed to, let me see if I can't get this out of the sun here. I guess not. Very bright day here in Florida. There's this bolt that apparently is supposed to be back here, and you loosen it and it moves that. Well, mine's up in the front behind the wheel, so you have to move it to where you can access it via like the hole. And I loosened it, and it didn't really do anything. It made it to where like I was able to shimmy the belt off, but that's really about it. So I'm not too sure if I trust that just yet. But I got it off, and so it might be difficult to get it back on, but I know that it can tighten. It's not loosening all that well. I'll be replacing the alternator belt as well. I'll mess with that in a moment. But in the FSM factory service manual, it doesn't tell you that there's two engine block drain plugs. It just says that there's one, unless you go to a different section of the FSM, then it says that there's two. It doesn't really show you where they are. The diagram is pretty hard to follow. So, really, it's just on the left and the right side of this pulley here. There's one that goes back in here. Let me see. Cursed. So there's one right back in there, probably about 2 inches in. It's a 14. It's going to be a silver stud. And there's a little like circle indent right above it that can kind of help you find it. And then of course right on the other side, in between here and here, again it's like right on the same, just on the flip side. And I was able to get that one loose and off, but alas, this one on the other side is basically just going to be snapping wrenches or stripping itself out, so I'm not too worried about draining that side. I did take that one out and there was nothing inside of the block, so I might just hook a hose back up to the thermostat housing, run some water through it, and try to get the flush the block out, because the radiator was, let me get into the shade, very dirty, as you can see when I pulled it off, and I had flushed it 3 times previously, so I'm continuing to back flush it. Water's about clear right now, as well as I'm going to be buying some Prestone radiator flush when I get everything back together. I'm currently waiting to get funds to get parts, so I'm going to be needing thermostat and seal and housing and probably some new radiator hoses and clamps. I got to redo my intake manifold because I didn't set the gasket properly, apparently, as air leaks through right here. And so while I'm doing that, I might as well go ahead and take off the lower intake manifold and my valve covers, go ahead and paint those and replace those gaskets. Gives me a chance to go ahead and look at some vacuum lines to take off, and plug them up, and just try to clean up some of the engine a bit, like with these all these hard lines that run all the way through the engine, and all this crap up here, all of it. I don't really need it, I don't really care for it, all that stuff too. So I'll be getting around to that. Same with the EGR that I did happen to plug up. I'm gonna have to actually rip off again, and so this time I'm just hoping that we're gonna be able to cap it, so that way I don't have to mess with this thing anymore. And as you can see, I got air conditioning hoses unplugged, same with the canister. I mean, that really basically sums it up. So I'm just working on flushing the engine right now and waiting for parts so I can go ahead and redo the upper, lower intake manifolds, as well as the valve covers, and just get those cleaned up, and just go ahead and continue to progress from there. As well as this, I had found out is my automatic transcooler. It is just an auxiliary one, and so I went ahead and it was bracketed to the condenser, so I went ahead and bracketed it to this air dam down here, and I'm probably going to leave it there until I get an intercooler and see if it gets in the way of that, as well as figure out how I'm going to route it through here, because it's pretty much going to be simple through here. I'm just going to push it through. I don't really need a big one. Don't plan on doing too much, we'll see what happens later on down the road. But I gotta figure out my gauges, why those don't work, and get a MBC before I can even think about messing with the intercooler, which is fine. And this is my pop-off valve here, so I'll be taking that off whenever I get a blow-off valve and capping that. I could add one to the stock charge pipe right now, but I'd rather not start just cutting holes and stuff and having to buy two of them, or cut this one out and maybe muck it up, or whatever the case may be. So it's easier just to play it safe for right now, but that's where we're at. We're just waiting to be able to acquire parts, and then do all that work, put it back together, and I don't really see anything else stopping it from going ahead and doing some damage. So this has just been another update. Plans to follow, more videos to follow, more updates to come, all that good jazz. Might have someone start editing my videos here soon, so they won't be so home rigged, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's the Midnight Rose. This is me, and we're signing off.